Good morning, boys. How are we doing today?
Good
Doing
morning.
great.
Hello.
Wonderful day.
It's good to see everyone. Everyone, send your thoughts and prayers over to Christina. She is a little bit under the weather and trying to rest up. I think she's speaking this weekend someplace. Does anyone have any idea where?
I would assume that she was going to be headed up to the sequel train, right?
Yes.
It's the weekend before Pass, right?
Okay.
And so there's is it the Vancouver sequel Saturday would be this weekend? Maybe I think.
It's
'Cause I think
Vancouver
it's
Sequel Saturday, but I forget if it's this weekend or next weekend.
I think
Okay.
it's,
Like, honestly,
if you're headed up to Pass, if Pass is next week, it's the weekend before.
Okay.
Because then they do the train back down. So yeah, she was really looking forward to that.
So hopefully she'll be feeling better. But it is great to see you, Jake. How the heck are you doing, buddy?
All good? All good for Friday? Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, Jake, where are you coming from?
I'm in the UK. So I'm in Birmingham, so kind of in the middle.
Okay. Just dead center of the country, basically. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. As far away from the coast as you could probably get.
Awesome. So do you want to introduce yourself to our crew, our live stream? I know you've been in the chat before, but who are you and why are we here today?
Yeah, so I'm a Microsoft MVP in Power BI. I have been for, I don't know, about 5-6 months.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Brand new. Congratulations.
Yeah. And before that, I've been blogging for about 1.5 years on kind of Power BI Fabric stuff, and I've worked with Power BI 6-7 years, something like that. But
Nice.
yeah.
That's fantastic. And are you a consultant, or where do you work?
No, I work in a Power BI COE at a big bank.
That's awesome. All right, so
they throw lots of money at Power BI then, huh? Deposit in more licenses.
E5 free licenses.
yay!
Yeah.
Well, that is a challenge unto itself. Now, I'd love to get into talking about data governance because that's one of my favorite topics for how you drive enablement and whatnot. But we won't go there today because today we're here. We're going to be talking about DAX libraries, and if could you summarize what is DAX lib or a DAX library for our crew?
Yeah, so it's the libraries for a preview feature. So
Okay.
user defined functions as opposed to user data functions. So user defined
don't get your UDFs mixed up.
Yeah. So user defined functions allow you to build your own functions using DAX to use in Power BI. And DAX lib is a collection of libraries of those functions that are being shared by community members to be used by anyone.
Oh, that's exciting. So so you can actually just now piggyback on a whole bunch of code that's already been written out there inside of your models. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different libraries for doing different things. And DAX lib is just an easy way of being able for those to all be centralized, and you can quickly copy paste those or use Tabular Editor 3 to import those really easily and utilize.
Okay, that's cool. Now, are you using Tabular Editor 3, or what's your preferred integration point there?
I use Tabular Editor mostly for playing around with model metadata as opposed to writing. If I'm writing and debugging DAX code, then it's probably going to be using something like DAX Studio. So I'm yet to fully move across and fully use Tabular Editor for everything. that's probably out of habit more than anything.
Oh, that's interesting.
Break
Go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, I must be delaying still. I said it. Sometimes it's good to break those habits. I tend to do everything I can for a model in Tabular Editor 3. So,
But you don't get all the nice query plans and being able to look at your DAX performance, which is the kind of downside.
and that's about the only thing that I end up back in DAX Studio for, right? But if I'm debugging, it's usually code that I wrote, and the DAX debugger in Tabular Editor 3 is just amazing for that, and showing you everything that's going on with it. But that's for another day. And like you said, there is a way to use DAX lib with Tabular Editor 3. I haven't gone into it yet, though.
Yeah, I've not had a chance to play with it, but from what I've seen on the blogs, you can effectively just there's an integrated window where you can get a list of all the libraries, and it's one click to install.
Yeah, and I wonder, I know we kind of just jumped into the DAX lib type of stuff, and we came about this because we had UDFs on a couple shows ago, right? And you were in the chat talking a lot about that and everything. But maybe we should just go back and reintroduce user-defined functions again, just a little bit. Or maybe you could do that while you're showing us how you bring them in through DAX lib. Just trying to see if our audience needs a new baseline.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you hop over and have a look now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Right. So let's ignore DAX lib for a second, and we can look at user-defined functions.
What was that? That was impressive.
Hmm?
That visual was that's it. Is that in Power BI?
Yeah, this is a DAX lib function. This is all SVGs using a DAX lib library.
Shut the front door. Well, right there is the reason where you would do this right off the bat. Holy cow.
Do you find that performs better than trying to put in spark lines all over the place?
I mean, Sparkline, the performance isn't necessarily better. I'd say it's fairly analogous, because the way that spark lines work is they create ad hoc queries in your DAX plan, which generates a path. So you'll get a min, a max value for your scale, and then for each data point. So if your axis is like year month, you have a point for each month, and it will say at this XY coordinate there will be a point, and they will draw all the lines. So it's very similar to how an SVG path would work, because you're defining where the line should be. I've not did a performance test between the two, but using SVGs, you can go much further than just drawing lines or columns. You can do violin plots or heat maps and box plots.
Holy crap. I mean, this is fantastic. And this is all in DAX libraries?
Yeah, so this one is, well, let's go over a couple of different types of libraries. So the 3 types of libraries. DAX lib has a small library. There's a medium/large, and then there's a DAX lib controlled one. So if we were to browse these, this one here is a medium/large, and this one's a small. The only difference between these two is just how you manage your repos, because the way that all this powered is through GitHub. You can you can fork the DAX lib repo. You can add your own functions, put a pull request in, it'll get reviewed, and then it'll get published to the site. Anyone that's called daxlib.something, this is a DAX lib owned library, and so this has a slightly different workflow. But anyone can create their own libraries in either of these two formats, and the only real difference is the repo structure. We can look at that.
Well, like why how do you tell if it's a big library or a small library? And I'm sorry, I'm just missing it here. And why is it important?
So the difference is, let me pull this up. So if we're talking about a small library, what happens is you have the daxlib.org website.
Mm-hmm.
You have the main repository that deploys packages to that.
Okay.
And you're working on your own fork of the library. So you fork DAXLib, you do all your development, you add your Timdal script with all your UDFs in, you submit a pull request, and that gets deployed. With the medium large, you have one extra repo. So you still have your fork of DAXLib, but then you fork another repo as well. And what that means is you can then host documentation sites with that as well. So if I was to pull up, let's do this one, because this one's pretty easy. So this is a medium large one.
Okay.
And it's built off a template that DAXLib offers. And there's this source file. And this has all the DAXLib specific content. So you can have a README that tells people what's in this, and this will get published on the DAXLib site. You can have an icon associated with your library. There's a manifest to say what's in here. So in this case, I'm the author. This is what it does. Are there any tags to help people find the thing? And then the actual library itself is in this function.timdal file. And we have UDF functions. So the way that you define a UDF is you have a function, you have a name. It's where it's recommended to use Pascal case. And you can define any number of parameters, well, up to 12 parameters that you can pass into that function. And then all the naming I'm using here is using JS doc standards. And that's because I auto build the documentation site from this function file. So all the stuff outside of this source file, because this is just the DAXLib stuff, I'm then using make docs, which is a static site generator for creating a documentation site. I am running a script. So if I ever publish this thing, I can run a script and it's going to check to see all the content in here. It's going to look at the JS docs. It will know what the parameters and what the returns and everything should be, and it will build the documentation site for me. So if I was to go to here. So with the small medium library, you've got this extra option that you can host your own website, and it can be there with the code. And if you want to run some sort of automation so that when you update functions, your documentation site gets updated at the same time, you can.
Okay. So when you're running your own site, what is that URL that's up there? Is it off of GitHub?
Yeah, so this is all using GitHub Pages, which you can use for free. Normally, it suggests you use something like Jekyll, which is a static site generator built using Ruby. This one's using MakeDocs, which runs Python, but effectively you chuck whatever content that you want. If it's Jekyll, then it will do an auto build for you. Otherwise, if any HTML, it will just deploy that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know, because I was over here looking at daxlib.org and the packages, Jake's handle on there is evaluation context. So if you see that name, then he's contributed to that package, right?
Yeah, so if we were to go into this one, you can see that we have that README that we had in that source file.
Mhm.
You'll see all the code that's within the library, the manifest, but then also any links to, say, that website and source. So I think with small libraries, a lot of your documentation is going to be within this README file. But once you start to get to quite a big library, you're probably going to want something more significant and easier to use, in which case you can self-host a website to help people understand what it does and how to use it.
Wow. I mean, this is fantastic, but can you walk me through, like, let's say, we saw your Power BI report. That visual looks stunning to me. How could I create something like that myself? Is that something you're able to show me? Is that
Yeah.
Yeah?
So right now, this file has 2 libraries in it. So it's got the DAX LIB SVG.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also got Kurt's library for creating the data model. So there's some like dummy data one, but it
Okay.
doesn't have this in at all. So the way that we can actually add this library is we click on Add to Power BI and copy. We open up a new Timdal script, paste it in, and you'll see it's
Shut the
got
front door.
a creator
Sorry.
replace. And you'll see all these squiggly lines. They don't mean anything. The Timdal parser can't handle UDF so well right now.
Okay.
But all these functions are now callable because I've just run. So if I was to go to a new measure,
Holy cow. I can copy paste. That I know how to do.
did I run it?
On a good day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think I ran it, but
Some
then
days
be
I
able to-
only know how to copy and not paste. But
yeah, you see there's a whole
there
load of
it is.
problems. Is there an output? Yeah, success. There we go.
Okay.
So if I go to that measure again, and then if I go,
Are you able to zoom in a bit? I can't quite make that out. But not on Power.
okay, this
Okay.
is not going. It's not going to be very good for me in terms of detecting. Let me
Preview
just
features.
Yay.
Oh, did I copy in the wrong place? I've put it in Timdal view. No wonder it didn't run. Right. Let me put it into DAX. Right. Okay. Now it's actually going to create the thing. Perfect. There we go. So now we have access to all these extra functions.
Wow.
And
So
then,
copy, paste, run, figure out how you run right, and then real simple then.
yeah, and then we could do something like we can extract the hue of a hex color. This one. So for us to do that. And let's put as a card. Where's card? There we go. So there's no hex to that color, but if we were to put something, you'll probably find the correct hue. If this is valid hex, there we go. So it's got a hue of 328. And so the color library allows you to do a whole bunch of manipulations of colors. So if you wanted to create themes and that sort of thing, then you can.
Wow.
so that's pretty cool.
Wow. And if your Data Goblins is saying that Tabular Editor 3 makes it easier because you just go to View, Data Package Manager, Add Library, and then whenever it updates, you can update from within tabular error 3 or remove it. So
Yeah, I've never tried this, but we can. Although
Let's
I
do
haven't
it
opened this in a
live.
while. Yeah, I've not opened it in a while, so it might not be up to date enough. We'll see.
We were talking about this pre-show, and we're like, well, maybe we won't look at it. But Jake called an audible. I like it. Let's see what happens. I looked at it on mine. It looks pretty neat. The pane that comes up.
I'm pretty excited about like.
Hi.
Download a new.
Bum.
Yeah, give you a little time to load that tabular error 3.
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but
No?
if I updated, it would be hiding in here, and then it's
Okay.
It's easy.
Well, you've expressed that you're not yet a TE3 like 24/7 yet guy, right?
I don't use it at work because we don't have a license. I just have it personally, so
Yeah.
I've not had a chance to really build it into my workflow.
Yeah. Well, if your manager or director needs someone to help approve that purchase, like let me know. I'm happy to be the voice of reason for getting that signed off. So
Yeah.
Do you have a 100% success rate?
I actually do. It is shocking. I've had 4 people say, really? And then they invite me to a meeting. I talk with whoever it is, and they go, oh, all right. And then 4 for 4 purchases there. Oh, what just happened here?
Oh, dude,
Kevin, you're
I
sharing.
shared. Yeah, I didn't know that mine was going to come up right away. I was going to. We're doing it live.
Yeah.
But mine has it. So you come to this view.
Restream.
Why did you do it that way? Right here is the package manager. So we'll click on that. And then you'll see it brings up, here's all those packages from DAX LIB, I think is where it's getting it from, right? And
yeah,
you could just click them, update or whatever, right? So it's a pretty neat interface.
And it also tells you if you're on an old version. So if you're on version 3 but version 4 is out, it'll tell you and you can upgrade.
Which is nice. That's a very similar to like VS Code managing extensions experience. This is pretty much the same thing, but for DAX libs.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I don't have a model open right now, so I can't install any, but this gives you an idea of what the interface looks like.
Oh, yeah, that's very cool.
And you can, it shows you the numbers of downloads, so you can get an idea of which ones might be useful for you.
It's pretty cool. All right, I'll have to get back into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these will just be like a single function, some of them will be 20, some will be 50. So there's the different levels. And then in terms of, I guess, do you want to see how to use any of the libraries, or should we have a look at how to contribute?
Yeah, let's take a look at how we use the libraries.
Yeah, so in terms of this one, DAX LIB SVG, there's a few different concepts. So the lowest level concepts are elements, and so these are the standard SVG.
I'm sorry, did you say elements or elephants?
Elements.
Okay, all right. Just making sure
you're going to have a very big
term.
You're going to have a very big model if you're going to bring elephants into it, Chris. Then you're going to have to do some optimization.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we were to go to, if we were to search for just SVG, and we go to say WS3, there's this whole bunch of different elements that exist. So there's things like lines, polygons, polylines, and these are the fundamental particles that you can use to build SVGs out of. And each of them have different properties. So for a circle, you'd have a RX, RY, which shows you what the radius of the circle is going to be, and then where it's going to be placed with the CX, CY. So all your SVGs is defining strings like these with a whole bunch of different elements. And then we've also got a concept of compounds where we're combining multiple elements together to build something. And these generally have the idea of you're passing a scale. So if you're talking about a line or area, we have a scale from left to right that might be date. But then we have another scale of how big the data is on that given date. And then we're plotting that. So generally, there's a lot of concatenate X being used to generate all these different elements together. But generally, you don't need to really care about that if you're going to use the library, because you can just come in and define exactly what you want to build. So if we're talking about this area graph, we're saying I want the that compound to start at position 0, 0, because if we're talking about SVGs, we're plotting everything within an area, and that's going to have a coordinate system. So it's going to be so many pixels high, it's going to be so many pixels wide. So you have to say exactly where within that space you want things to exist. And it's a bit different from graphs, because graphs you think 0, 0, bottom left, but when we talk about SVGs, it's top left.
Oh, interesting.
And then when we're trying to plot our data scale down to that area, we have to think about mapping between different data scales, because although this might be 100 pixels high, this data might be 1 billion. So you have to map 1 billion to that that scale of 0 to 100, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just say, where do we want this area to start? How tall and wide do we want it to be on our Power BI visual? Do you want to add any padding so that it doesn't overlap? In this case, we're passing that date scale for the axis, and we're passing a measure that's going to be evaluated for each of those data points. There's also a theme function just to make life a bit easier. So all the different there's a whole bunch of different themes, but
what do you mean a theme function?
So we can go have a look at it.
You've added in a UDF that's for themes?
Yeah, so you pass in a theme name,
okay,
and a variant, and there's just a list of hex codes. So if I wanted to use the Power BI theme and variant 11, it would do a color. So you could, if you wanted to try and make your SVG different data points all within a sort of color theme, then you could map these different variants to your different data points, so that it was all consistent. Or you can just do something like use there's a linear theme as well, where it just takes here we go. No, not linear gradient. I'm not going to find it.
But this is different than the themes that we set within the report, right? What you're saying is you have a UDF that helps you define your own themes to make it easy within the final measures that you're calling, to just pass in a couple different variables and change colors and things that the SVG is generated in.
Yeah, so,
is that correct?
Yeah, so we'd be able to see it for this radial gradient, I think. So if I was to look at elements and no depths, and this radial gradient,
Mm-hmm.
You can see that we're using this theme, one of the theme colors here. So whatever the selected theme color is for one of the parts of the gradient. And then for another part of the gradient, we're just incrementing by 1 to pick another color, the next color in the theme. So if we were to do pink, it would use that pink and purple, or if I was to pick over here. But you could imagine that if you had a like
Wow.
a little bar chart, then you could say I want the first one to be variant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all going to be nicely coloured to whatever theme. So we could change it to say different purples or whatever.
Nobody's singing Purple Rain when you selected that.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Well, I mean, I'm blown away by this, Jake. I've got to say, this is just really impressive. But you know, to the comments that are in the chat, like this goes way above and beyond, you know, the low codes, you know, Power BI, what we used to have. And for those of us who've been using it for a long time, this feels like it, you know, this can be a bit much, and that, you know, we really need to be on our game. And, you know, if you're really trying to be on your game, I recommend Nero Gum for caffeine, L-theanine, and B vitamins. It gets you up, gets you going, and it's something that's great that you can do from your chair at any point in time. So Nero Gum. Use Kratos BI at checkout for 0% off your order. They are not a sponsor of this channel. I just like it, and it's a fun thing I do at the hour. So
Let's hear from a random customer. I actually tried it from Chris yesterday, and man, was it refreshing.
Are you still bouncing off the walls from that much caffeine the next day?
Yeah, but they're padded, so it doesn't hurt as much.
yeah.
You live in a padded cell. I mean, room. Thanks.
How did? Yeah, it's the other 3 walls you can't see.
Sorry, Jake. You're keep showing it. Keep going on here.
Yeah. So I guess the point is, not many. The advantage of using UDFs that have been defined by community members is they understand the use case, and they're going to abstract away all the complexities so that you don't necessarily need to know how to use those. And once you have this nice interface of a library, LLMs can help you put these things together. So if you were trying to combine multiple compounds together, so we have like the idea of a heat map, but then we're mixing a heat map with a jitter plot here. That's really easy to do, because you define your jitter, you define your heat map, and then you just concatenate them together. And you can do that manually, or LLMs can understand what the library's doing and put these together very nicely.
Do you just put them together with the AND statement, or?
Yeah, because these are strings. So the output of this is a string.
Oh, wow.
So if we were to convert this back from image URL to uncategorized, it's just
You
a
would
string.
see all the SVG code.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
So we can pull that into, trying to forget what would be the best one to look it in. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, right?
Holy cow.
Whoa.
That's easy to figure out. Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about any of that, because
Right.
the library does it for you. And it makes it easier to develop as well, because a function that would have been huge, you can abstract away little parts of it, and then the actual amount of mind space you need to put together to actually remember what you're trying to do is much lower.
Yeah.
Because
I agree. I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Because like you said, this would have been like to generate one of these cells could have been easily 200-300 lines, right?
So I'm trying
or more.
to remember how big this library is. So the library itself is about 600 rows long. Oh no, so that's the color one. The SV. Oh, I'm looking.
Well, but you're using part of the color one, right? And the other ones, right? So you would have had to combine all of that into one big measure.
Only some parts of it. But this one's 2,000. So 2,000 lines for this thing. But if you were trying to define all of this without UDFs, it would be way bigger, because the amount of expansion that you'd have to do for each of the different parts would be quite extensive.
Yeah. Well, that and what, like, if you wanted it in different things, you'd have to keep repeating the same code over and over again at times, right?
Yeah.
That was the old method before UDFs, I would think.
Yeah, so you'd have to keep coming in, and wherever you had, because you could almost do this before with calculation groups. So calculation groups, you can define parameters that you want to pass in to your calc group, but you could never pass in table or column references, which is essential, because otherwise so we have our data scale, and if you're using calc groups, you would have to predefine that. So if you wanted to use year date, date year or whatever, and suddenly wanted to try and use the same thing, the same SVG measure or calc group for a different axis, you'd have to go in and manually change that. So it wasn't very usable in terms of being able to define a field parameter and allow people to select what they wanted to plot things against. But with the UDFs, you can, because you've got the option to pass in.
Wow. All right. So what do I have to do to go from this big string ugly thing to that beautiful chart you had before?
So I need to remember which one I actually selected, because now it's gone off the screen.
Somebody go back through the recording of the stream and figure out what was said at before.
Which one was it? Oh, here we go. So it's this JSON heat map.
Yeah.
And for you to use SVGs, your measure has to be down this image URL.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And so all you do is you have to make that and you've got this beautiful chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Once you change the measure to that category, I think is what it's called, right? Then it shows.
Yeah.
I've done so little with SVGs, but I do remember having to do that because I kept seeing the little strings come out at first. And I'm like, I know this works. And
there's also other little funny bits as well. So you need to define, you have to put this data image SVG stuff at the beginning. But yeah, you can. There's little nuances that you need to know, but they are very powerful, and they're actually not too bad to create. So all the DAX LIB libraries are of a certain class in terms of they're completely model independent. So there's no table column measure defined within any of the UDFs, so you can put them into any function.
Yeah, and then when you produce your final measure, you pass in the one you want, right? That's from the model.
Yeah. So if you had some, so you can so technically you could define a UDF, an SVG with just a couple of lines of code. Well, like 5 or 6. But then if you were trying to accommodate lots of different use cases or more complicated scenarios, they can start to grow quite a lot. So it kind of depends.
Yeah. So now UDFs, right? I mean, how long ago did they come out? It was just, I want to say it's measured in months, right? They haven't been out very long, have they?
So we can potentially look and see when the first of these was submitted. But I think it was only like a month ago.
Yeah, it was August.
Yeah.
So this was my first go at the SVGs.
September?
Yeah.
Well, he's an MVP. He would have had early access to it, right? But to the general public, I think it went into preview about a month or 2 ago.
Holy cow.
But I remember seeing some of this coming about. I was super excited about this ahead of time. So I'm assuming Jake looked at it early too.
I didn't have access to the preview until after it was released.
Oh, okay. But okay, so we're 2 months into it. You look at this site. I mean, there are some heavy hitters. Evaluation context, data goblins,
Burnett,
SQL BI, Burnett,
Mark
a lot of people
Walters.
have really, Carrie's in there. It's Mark Walters, right? I don't know that he's on today on our chat, but a lot of people have fully bought into UDFs, right? So where I'm trying to go to on this is it is very early. It is preview. We usually caution against, anything preview going into production. It's probably still a good caution, but have you seen any issues with as much as you've been doing with UDFs that you would say, have some caution to it?
I've not seen any issues. Debugging them can be a bit funny, but if you use DAX View, and I use a lot of 2JSON to debug what's happening within tables. But yeah, they work perfectly fine from what I've seen. And I think by their inherent nature, they're probably going to be, I can foresee bloggers sharing UDFs rather than measures in the future, because then it's going to be more reusable by people, because it's then very easy to adapt to your specific model, because you just plug in your parameters rather than have to go into a measure and try and find where you're meant to be replacing things.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's going to be a good way to kind of share something to help people reproduce it in their particular model.
Yeah.
Right. Put it in as a UDF, even if you're given a sample, Power BI file or whatever, but put it in as a UDF so they pull that out, and then just all they have to do is reproduce the call in their very specific model that might have different names. It's a very good point.
Wow.
Yeah. And then SQL BI are putting in their DAX patterns slowly. So anything that's going to be a general pattern probably fits DAX lib. So there's Kurt's library for let me sort by most popular format strings. So all the different dynamic format strings you might have in measures, a lot of those are all handled in this DAX lib.format string. So you can just copy and paste this. Because one of the pain points of format strings is you have to go into each individual measure, and if you've defined 20 of the same format strings around the place, you have to go individually into each of those measures and change them. Whereas you could just instead say, I want to call daxlib.formatstring dot something. And then you can change the UDF definition, and then it's going to update all your measures to match that.
That's nice.
So for the cases where you want to do millions, billions, thousands sort of things, having something like this is very useful because it's all defined in a single place.
Wow.
So you're an early adapter to all of this. What would you think the path would be for somebody that to kind of get more into this and everything? Obviously, start by looking at DAX lib, grabbing their packages, all the packages that you guys are contributing here, and then just start playing with it, right? I mean, and then go from there to writing your own UDFs. Use what's out there before, right? Trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the way to go. So if there's something already out there, go and play with it and see if it fits your use case. If it doesn't, then see whether or not you can adapt it. And then, because this is all on GitHub, you could put a GitHub issue in, and then, or a pull request to request your specific use case to be included in the library and benefit everyone.
Oh,
that's a good point. And I know some people are still intimidated by Git and putting issues in and pull requests and stuff like that. But what I took out of what you just said too, right, is you don't, right, you could use it. You don't have to be all that great with Git, but if you are, you could help contribute back to the community and make some things better.
If you're not comfortable with Git, then issues are really easy.
So that's true, because it's just a click, right? You go to that GitHub and
Yeah,
It
so,
even says issues on there.
so you could just go issues and just say new issue,
Mm-hmm.
and just go like compound.area. This doesn't work because of something. This is my use case. Here's my PBIP report that you can download and see the issue. Or there's this extra feature that would be really useful to me. Would you consider including this in your library?
Yeah, and I know the authors of anything like this, that are very active on GitHub are, they respond to these really quickly. There's been some people I've been really surprised on how fast they respond. So easy way to contribute back and give the author feedback.
Well, it's a passion project for a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
Like, Deneb was a passion project that got created. Jake, clearly you're very passionate about this. You've done some amazing things in this space. So it's very easy for us to like ride on your coattails and take advantage of the hard work that you've done. But it also looks like, Jake, this is a feature that's been out for a month. You started working, or 2 months. Let's be generous and say 2 months.
Mhm.
You started working on it. How long did it take for you to create your first library, and what was your process on that?
So my first library was that color one. So this one here.
Yeah.
It didn't take that long. So the interface is pretty simple in terms of you can treat the parameters the same way that you would treat variables, except for the fact that parameters can also be semantic model objects. So they can be columns, and they can be measures, and they can be tables, and they don't necessarily have to be evaluated right at the point where you call the variable, because generally variables you can use in iterators to define what the current context was of a measure at a given point in time. But with parameters, you can, instead of being evaluated when you call the function, you have the option with using let me find this.
Oh, is that is there like a by reference or by, is that what we're thinking of?
Yeah. CLBI. Yes. So you can call this, so there's this value and expression.
Mm-hmm.
And you put that when you're defining, so here we go. So when you're defining your variable, you can say, do I want it to be value or do I want it to expression? If it's value, this, whatever parameter this is, gets calculated the moment that you call the function. So if it's a measure, it's going to figure out what that value is, and then whenever you call A, it's going to be that set value. If you put the same measure into B, because it's expression, it's going to not pass the value, but it's going to pass the reference. So if you're calculating B, which is the measure in a different filter context later on in your UDF, that B value can be different.
Change.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's a lot of flexibility. And the only limitation I found so far is the number of parameters, but I think that's going away.
What's the limitation on the number of parameters?
You can only have 12.
Oh, okay.
It was earlier in the live stream, Chris. You need more gum.
But but that's because the Power BI team never thought anyone would want more than 12 parameters for a function.
Boy, Microsoft has a history of that, huh?
Just an artificial limit then, huh? You think?
It is, yeah. And the only other problem I found is that the fact that is kind of inherent to DAX, in the fact that it's needs to be able to compile, and it has to be deterministic. So it never allows you to, say, convert a string to a column reference or anything like that, which has been a bit of a problem if you're trying to. So if we're talking about this table, this is all working perfectly fine, and that's because it knows that it's going to be being calculated at a given granularity of data. So in this case, brand. But if you start to nest these things together, depending on if you want this y-axis to be
Chris,
based
you need
on.
to show the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
we
So
go.
because there's a few different things that you can do in terms of how you want these graphics to show up, because the min and max value for this y can be defined on different scales. So you can do it based. The way it's working right now is how it works with spark lines, in where each of these are independent. So this 0 and this 100% is based on the data for TitanWorks, and this one's based on Neuralink. But if you wanted to define a global scale, so these are all scaled based on the global min-max, it starts to become more tricky once you start to add in different layers of different hierarchies. So if you had brand and down to color, being able to, the parameters can't be optional, and you can't detect the context in which any of these are being calculated. So that makes that a bit tricky. But I think that's very much a SVG specific issue.
Hey, Gary's asking, can a parameter be a JSON object? And if so, the one parameter would be enough to avoid hitting the limit.
Yes, and I kind of deal that as well in terms of. Do I have a good example? Yeah, so I was saying before that these different elements have some sort of base parameters that they need to have. So they have like X and Y coordinates. But there's a whole bunch of different attributes that can be called. So the fill color, the opacity, the stroke value, all this sort of stuff. So I've created these kind of attribute functions that, in this case, create a long string, which is going to be passed into this string so instead of calling all these things as individual parameters, it wraps it all into a single parameter. So this could be a string. So this could either be a JSON object, this could be a string, it could be whatever. It's the same sort of idea with the other type of UDFs where, so user data functions. If you were trying to pass a table context, so if you're just passing one column, that's fine. The UDFs are really happy doing that. But as soon as you start to pass multiples, if you put these all together with 2 JSON, then in your user data function, you can just convert that JSON string to a JSON object to a dictionary, and then you can iterate over them pretty easily.
Wow. Wow. Okay, Jake, with 5 minutes left in the stream, want to hit on what are your recommendations for how people get started with UDFs, with DAX LIB? What's your guide there?
So if you just want to use UDFs, go have a look on DAX LIB, try and find a library that solves a use case that would be interesting to you, and download it and try it out. If you want to contribute, then if on the same DAX LIB website, you can go to docs, and there's some information on how to contribute. And then I've got some more documentation on how to contribute on my blog, which goes into a bit more detail and shows you exactly what you want to do and how this all works.
Very nice.
Yep. So. All right, excellent. Now, the true question, Jake, I'm giving you a magic wand. You were allowed to, with this magic wand, make one change to DAX libraries. What would that be and why?
I think the changes that I would like to see would be things like being able to define a default value for a parameter. So in the same way, if someone doesn't want to enter something, then you don't have to. You can have optional parameters. So if someone doesn't enter a parameter, then it doesn't get called. Or the same way with summarized columns, where you can say, I'm going to group by column 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can start calling measures in order to text what column, the context for those things. So just more flexibility in that kind of parameter interface in what you're passing through.
I love that.
Interesting.
I've wanted to have the ability to programmatically set a default value for, well, since 2016. So it's been going on a decade. Let's hope we get there sometime soon. That'd be fantastic.
Well, you kind of can. So you can pass the blank function, and then you can just check if blank, then do something. But it's a bit messy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not as straightforward and easy as it could possibly be. But this is fantastic, man. Honestly, I'm really impressed by this. I think this creates a whole bunch of opportunities for us to radically change the way our Power BI looks and feels, and do so in a very low, it's a low code way to use pro code capabilities, right? I can copy and paste. I can do that, right? I can import a library and then I can just go with it as it is. Data Monkey is asking to fill out an idea for that.
Yeah.
We'll reference this live stream at the 57-minute mark for details on that.
Yeah. So Mim's saying for any ideas that you ever have for Fabric, you can go to the Fabric community forums and Fabric ideas and submit them, and they will get reviewed and prioritized.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. And because I'm a bad YouTuber, if you guys are still watching, hit that like button down below.
Yeah, right. Well, mine might not have updated, but I see 0 likes. So there, you got one.
Yay. Yeah, I haven't even liked it yet. So there we go. Oh gosh, you'd think I'd get used to this.
Why am I
whole
not
YouTube
getting
thing.
engagement?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jake, thank you so much for all of this. This is a big deal. Really like it. What time is it now in the UK? Or is it like 6:30 your time?
Oh, only 1:30.
Oh, it's only 2:30?
2:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Your dark office had thrown me.
No, the weather's awful.
Oh, okay. All right. Or normal, right?
For this time of the year, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I traveled to the UK. I was there for 2 weeks. I didn't see the sun once. I was visiting a friend who was there, and he'd been there for 3 months, and he said there was one day the sun came out. I'm like, holy cow, that is a pale group of individuals living on the Isles over there.
Yeah.
Not a lot of sun. So okay, awesome. Well, Jake, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today and going over this stuff. This has been an absolute blast. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys tuning in. You have the best day ever. Peace. Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.